What's going on, guys? My name is Jake,
I'm Jesus.
and this is your BodyCom prescription where we help you navigate through all things health and fitness. Hope you're all having a great day. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Instagram at bodycomprx. But Jesus, why don't we tell them what we're talking about today?
Yeah, guys, welcome. Today's episode's gonna be a little bit more, I guess you'd say, fun, less science-based. It's gonna be about 2 or 3 things that we wish we knew about fitness or training in general. I mean, this kind of stems back from, when we started. I'm sure Jake could relate to this, but, when we wanted to start training, maybe in our high school days, even now, we always look for inspiration from somewhere. We wish we had someone telling us, oh, this route's best. Oh, you should worry about this instead of that. And I think that's something we try doing already on this podcast. But, today we wanted to really tell you our 2 to 3 main points that we think would be beneficial for you to know now and not have to learn it through, multiple years of experience down the line, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, like, if I had the information that I have now 6 years ago when I first started like lifting and working out and stuff, the amount of progress that I would have made obviously would have been a lot greater because I know the science behind things. I wouldn't have had to go through the 6 years of trial and error and stuff like that. So I think this will be really beneficial for you guys to kind of hear what we have to say. Because obviously, again, me and Jesus have different, backgrounds as far as, our fitness goals and experience goes. So, this will hopefully be helpful for you if you can relate to any of these. So Jesus, do you want to take it away with the first thing you wish you knew?
Yeah, so this was my number one. It's half the battle is your own creativity, right? That's kind of how I wanted to say it, because I think besides signing up and actually going to your workout, going to the gym, wherever it is you're training, the other half of the battle is simply just doing the work and having your own creativity to be like, okay, well, today I want to work on my legs or I want to work on my back. So then you have to then do the research, think about what you want to train, how you want to train it. And there's so many resources out there that you could use to basically come up with your own workout program, right? Because there's no like one workout program's best for everyone. So I think that's why I said it comes down to your creativity. You could try this exercise, you could make up your own exercise, see what works. Just said there's a bunch of trial and error when it comes to fitness in general. So, it's just kind of like reminding people who want to get into the fitness, world, or, simply training, just go out there and try what you want to try. It doesn't hurt, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I get this question all the time, as a trainer, people always come up to me and they're like, oh, I have this piece of equipment at home and I have this, is this enough for me? Should I have more? And it's like, obviously, yeah, if you could get more, then that would be fantastic. But I don't expect anyone to go spend more money than what they already have. Creativity is a really big deal. If you have a set of dumbbells, you can get a lot done with a set of dumbbells. It just has to do with creativity. Again, you can get a number of different body parts done with a single set of dumbbells. If you have no equipment, you can get tons of stuff done with no equipment, and obviously everyone's access is a little bit different. So that's where the creativity comes into play. And that's honestly, I think, what makes it fun. Obviously I know not everyone likes training and stuff, but if you can be a little bit more creative and try and mess around with certain equipment, like if you go to the gym at a busy time of the day and you only have 15-pound dumbbells and a 30-pound barbell because everything else is taken, figure out a way to get the job done of whatever it is you were trying to train that day. If it's legs, it's legs. If it's chest, it's chest, obviously. But just try and work with what you have, because something is always better than nothing. And there's no cookie cutter way to there's no one way to get to the same goal, So I think that's really good.
Real quick, I want to throw in the example. There's one time, Jake, I don't know if you remember this, but you told me the story that you were at the gym, right? And you wanted to do shoulder shrugs, right? Carrying 2 dumbbells. But then you took your dumbbells and you took it on the treadmill and you were walking on the treadmill because you didn't have too much walking space in the gym. So you went on the treadmill, had plenty of walking space technically, and you were doing shoulder shrugs, and someone came up to you and was like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Where'd you come up with that? Right? And you were just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of using what I got, I guess.
Yeah, I was literally just, yeah, that's exactly what it was. There's no real place to do farmer's carries. And if you know what farmer's carries are, is it's basically just
Mhm.
holding two dumbbells and walking around the gym. But if it's in a tight space or the gym is crowded, it's kind of inconvenient for you and for a lot of other people. So I figured out the problem and I made a solution. You know, if you can always approach
Mhm.
that way, you can make it happen. Because obviously, I wouldn't say that doing farmers carries on a treadmill is the safest thing ever, but you know, like I found a way to make it work. You know, so
Yep.
that's a good example actually. Um,
Yeah.
but I think my first thing I wish I knew when I was younger, when I first started training, was, you know, do what makes the most sense for you. Like, in other words, do what you like. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
again, people always, you know, ask me, and I'm sure ask you as well, like, oh, does X diet work? Or, you know, should I be doing bodybuilding, or should I be doing X amount of rest? Like, they'll come at you with a very specific question, like, oh, what should I be doing? And the answer is very simple. It's, if you like what you're doing, then keep doing it. Because I think I can speak for both of us here. We're very strong believers in, it doesn't really matter what you do for physical activity, because if you do it long enough and hard enough, it will work. You know, obviously, if you're trying to be a bodybuilder and all you do is long distance running, then yes, that won't work out, but that ties into like your goal and stuff like that. So a lot of people do things that they wouldn't normally want to do. We always talk about keto and how like people like are like, oh, keto is the best for weight loss. And while that might be true, it's not best for people who consume lots of carbs on a daily basis. And that's kind of what I want to get across, is that people don't create sustainable habits because they don't do what they like. And I think that's really important,
Mhm.
is that, you know,
Yeah.
if you don't like doing cardio like I do, I would pick basketball, right? Because I like playing basketball, you know. And again, just approaching it that way. If I'm never going to do any cardio, if, you know, all I ever thought of was a treadmill, right? So
Mhm.
that's kind of what I wanted to get across. Just doing what you like
Yeah,
is
I think
really
that
important for long term, you know.
yeah, that's really good. I think, you know, just the other week Jake and I had a friend ask us like, "Oh, do you guys do cleans and like jerks when you guys
Mm,
train?" And Jake and I are like, "No, not really our thing, right?" But you know, if I were to go train with that person from day one, and that's all they like to do, and then I was like, you know what, training and working out, lifting is boring, because that's just not what I like, right? And it's not for
mhm.
everyone, but you know, it may be for someone else. So you know, it's just kind of a reminder. It kind of ties into creativity as well, because it's like you got to do what works best for you, you know, make up something that works for you. Doesn't always have to be what everyone else is doing. Luckily, my number two is actually kind of similar to what Jake said.
Mhm.
This was kind of like, as far as dieting goes, choose
Okay.
stick to a diet and go with that, right? That's my number
Okay.
two, is just sticking to a diet, um, because consistency is key, right? Where
Mm,
regardless if we're talking about fitness in general, or if you're talking about training, if you're talking about nutrition. In this case, when I'm talking about specifically nutrition, when you're choosing a diet, Jake mentioned earlier, choose what is best for you, right? That's your first step. Second step is staying consistent with it.
mhm.
um, you got to ride the roller coaster. There's gonna be ups and downs. There's gonna be days where, you know, you fail at your diet, or you feel like it doesn't work, but you got to ride it out. You got to ride it out for a long time. And I'm pretty sure Jake and I have said this in previous episodes. Choose something that, you know, it's going to work for you, and you're going to be able to sustain for a really long time. Because if you keep jumping from diet to diet week after week, you're really not going to see any progress, right? Maybe one time you get lucky and you do see one big progress for one diet, and then you're like, oh, this is the one. It doesn't really work like that. You got to choose something that you're going to be able to hold for months.
Yeah, you just got to stick to the game plan, you know, like,
Hmm.
because if your game plan is 12 weeks and you don't stick it out for the full 12, you'll never know if it worked or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure if you get to like the 10th or the 11th week, you can kind of guess, you know, but like, if you jump, you know, every other week to something new, and that goes for diet, like Jesus is talking about here, and that goes for training as well, you know, like if you're a bodybuilder one week and then you're a power lifter the next week and then you're a CrossFitter the week after that, like, it's good to have a variety, but you know, like, you can have different phases. You know, we always talk about how this is a long-term deal, right? So, you
Hmm.
know, like, you can always try something else after that program is finished. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I like what you said. It's very simple, but it's very underrated for sure. Yeah, my number two is I wish that I had understood a lot earlier that my progress is much different than everybody else's progress. I think we actually mentioned this not too long ago, right? But it's very
Mm-hmm.
important. For those of you who did not hear that episode, I really wanted to make sure that it was in this one because again, I remember being in high school, right? And I was on the basketball team and we had mentioned that we don't really do a lot of weightlifting for basketball. But compared to the football team where they're squatting, they're benching, they're deadlifting and pulling all this heavy weight to get strong for football, I'm hearing so and so is benching 225 and I just started benching last week and I can get 50 pounds. I'm like, wow, I need to get there now. My progress is always going to be different than someone else's because there are so many factors that play into what it is that you're trying to do, how fast it gets done, how long you've been training, and there's all genetics, like there's so many things that play into your personal progress. And I wish that I had made it a little bit more known to myself that my progress was going to be different than other people's, right? Because again, it's really easy to go on Instagram, it's easy to go on YouTube and see, someone pushing a whole bunch of weight or doing exercise, whatever. And they're like, wow, you're really good at that. And little do you know that they've been doing it their whole life or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's timeline is different. And understanding that sooner creates a lot better relationship with your own progress and not feeling the need to compare to other people's, basically.
Yeah, and I'd like to throw in there, even when you're advanced, if you're an advanced uh, bodybuilder, trainer, if you're pro, there's always something there that someone's always working on, right? They never feel like you're perfect. You never feel like you're complete. So, when you're starting off, knowing that, the little progress and little gains you're making, that's kind of like the most exciting part because that feeling is always going to be there. There's always something you're going to want to be like, okay, well, I want to get a stronger back. I want to have, nice chest. I want to have a flat stomach and some nice abs showing. So there's always going to be something you're going to be working on. And, acknowledging those little steps that you're taking to get there is probably the most exciting part about, fitness and training. And it's probably going to keep you going for long term.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring this back to the people who watch the Olympia, right? Chris Bumstead is one of the most famous people on the planet right now in the bodybuilding space because he just won the Olympia, the most prestigious bodybuilding competition, on the planet. And he's talking about, oh, I'm working on my back, I'm working on my legs, I'm working on, and it's like even the best of the best always have things to work on, and they're not comparing their progress to anybody else's because all you can work on is trying to get a better you, and it sounds very cliche, but it's very true, so
Yeah.
you
Cool.
You want to move on to your number three?
Yeah, my number three, right? So my number three comes from, I'm guilty of this, and I know there's many people out there. When you're first starting, this kind of ties into more for the newbies out there. The first question they usually get from us is, does this supplement work? Should I take this over that? Right? So kind of like my number three is you probably don't need half the supplements you think you need, right? When you're starting off, you want to focus on making sure you have your nutrition down, your fitness down, and then to the point when you feel very comfortable with those two, that's when adding certain supplements will definitely make a huge difference, right? But for when you're starting off, you're not, taking BCAAs, fat burners, pre-workout, maybe even protein, it isn't necessarily gonna make or break your weight loss or bodybuilding transformation, right? Because there's so many things you got to work on and perfect before you say, oh yeah, this supplement here is what got me to look this big or this small.
Yeah, exactly. And I was guilty of this too especially when I was younger because the deal is I was trying to get as big as possible, as quick as possible, right? And then 16-year-old me walks into a GNC, you've heard the story 100 times, gets me to buy XYZ, right? And it's not needed. I always talk about how you want to change as few variables at a time as possible. So that way you always have room to adjust later, right? If you're taking a protein powder, a mass gainer, creatine, BCAAs, a pre-workout, a multivitamin, a fish oil, and the list goes on and on and on, right? Depending on what your goal is. And I remember I was saving up my money to go buy Optimum Nutrition BCAA tablets, right? And I was like, oh, this is the next thing, this is what's going to get me huge. And then I took it, didn't even like it, wasted my money. And now that we know that BCAAs are not the best thing on the planet, it was basically a waste of money, So
Yeah.
that's a very good point. A lot of people want that shortcut very early when talking about their journey. And obviously supplements come with the fitness game, because no one's diet is perfect, and they do exactly what they're marketed for as far as trying to assist your normal diet. But yeah, I do think that's a really high priority on some people's lists, and it shouldn't be as high as they think it should be.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, we're not saying supplements are bad, because by all means they're good. It's kind of like they have their own time and place, right? We're just saying that when you're first starting out, maybe for like intermediate level people, there's definitely things we could work on first in order to make sure we have the proper gains. And then that's when it'll be like, okay, well, if you're having an issue and you just need that kind of that one little step nudge to get you over the top, then maybe yes, a certain supplement will be beneficial then.
Yeah, that's
my number 3.
Yeah, figuring out what you're deficient in first is how you can, 1, save a lot of money on supplements, and 2, actually figure out what it is that you need, so you don't just waste a whole bunch of product, waste a bunch of money, hurt your digestive system, anything like that. If you find out all you're lacking is protein intake, then all you need to do is go buy a protein of your choice, but if you're deficient in vitamin D, and if you figure out what you need, then that helps you figure out what to buy. You shouldn't go to buy to figure out, oh, this is going to help me, and then find out that it wasn't needed later on. It's a little bit backwards in thinking. So that's a really good point. But
that was my number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is having a goal is the most important thing. Okay. And this sounds like a no-brainer, kind of like, I wish I knew this when I was younger. But having a goal is super important, right? A lot of people come up to me saying, again, is this good enough? Does this work? Should I be doing this? I basically tune them out, right? Until they're done talking. And I say, what's your goal first? What are you trying to do? Because if you don't know what you're trying to do, all of those other variables that you're talking about, your diet, your training, the equipment that you have access to, the supplements, none of that matters until you figure out where you're going, right? And once you figure that out, it makes everything so much easier to figure out. You know what I'm saying? So if I know that when I'm 16, I want to be a bodybuilder, and I want to work on hypertrophy training, basically staying in the 8 to 12, maybe 15 rep range, versus I want to be a power lifter. I want to work in the 5 and under rep range, or endurance, and it goes on and on, right? But having a goal is really important, because if you never know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you'll never know if you got there or not. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, it's always cool to change your goal along the way, because you found something that you like better, or something else that you want to work on, right? For me personally, I'll put myself out there, I want to work on my back, I want to work on my chest, and I want to work on my calves, that's what it is. And every time I go to train, obviously I'm not training those things every single day, but when I am training, that's what I'm thinking about, is this, I need to make sure that I'm training these properly and putting in the proper effort and doing my recovery properly in order to see that progress. But if I just went into the gym every day and saying, oh, it's leg day because I need to hit legs every week, I wouldn't get the progress that I would need in my calves in particular if I just hit quads and hamstrings, you know? And a lot of people forget that they need a goal to get somewhere. You know, a lot of people just mindlessly go through their, you know, their workouts or, you know, their diet and forget that they should be working towards something. You know, it's like the whole failing to plan is planning to fail or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That thing, you know?
I forget the phrase. Yeah.
But I think everyone knows what I'm trying to say here, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
if you don't know where you're going, you'll never know if you're there, right? And if you don't have a plan to get there, it's going to take you a lot longer, and you may not even come close to getting there.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think you said something there that kind of reminded me, kind of like a pro tip, but also kind of what you were saying already is, you know, when you, like, for example, when you're training, and let's just say today is back day for me, right? I'm kind of throwing myself out there. I know that it's back day, but my goal is to be able to do weighted pull-ups, right? So then my back day training session is kind of, you know, it's altered to the fact where I'm kind of working on muscle groups and also movements that are going to help me to do weighted pull-ups, right? I'm not just going to go be like, oh, it's back day. I guess I'll do this back exercise. It's like, no, I know I have a goal in mind, and it's so specific that I know that when I go train that day, it's gonna be these specific exercises because it's gonna get me specifically to my goal.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to keep this, you know, obviously I don't know how long the video is or the episode is, but we wanted to limit it to like 3, so that way, you know, this isn't like hopefully a 45-minute episode or anything like that. We can come up with more. So if you want us to do like a part 2, part 3, all that kind of stuff, we'd be happy to do it, because there's more than just these 3 things that I wish I knew, you know, before I started. I'm sure Jesus can say the same. So, you know, hopefully you guys learned something from this. I think Jesus brought up some really good things that are just as important as what I thought, you know, I needed when I was younger. And that just goes to show, you know, different goals breed different, you know, like desires for what we wish we knew, you know. So again, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Jesus, do you have anything else you want to add before we close this out?
No, that is all.
Cool. All right, guys. Take care. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.